but it doesn't solve anything because you're trying to resolve a certain emotion towards a person. And when you add anger into it, now you're having to resolve two emotions. Has anybody ever gotten clarity before when you're angry? No. Anger just clouds things. Anger never brings clarity to anything. And by the way, a lot of times detachment doesn't clarify things either. In other words, we sit back and we're like, now that I'm looking at it, I can see. No, now that you're stepping back and you're looking for problems in retrospect. I think this was a problem, 9 years ago. It's like, no, it wasn't a problem, but now you're seeing the boogeyman everywhere. Or vice versa. It happens to you in that direction where you're the person who's re-encountering it. And that's why I was asking, for a deeper explanation. Yeah. Good luck. I want you guys to think, actually no, forget that. Don't think about the worst that's ever happened to you. Right now, get it out of your mind. Don't think about the worst that's ever happened to you. Get it out of your mind. Stop thinking about it. This is part of the problem. As soon as you try not to think about something, you have to think about it in order to not think about it.
Distract yourself.
Yeah. Shiny objects.
Ice cream.
And unfortunately, shiny objects are usually new people. Yeah. The last part about the friend is so challenging because when we see this, a lot of times we do go to the romantic part of it. Should we wait for someone? Should we try to get them to change? Should we try to forget about them? And they're all painful. Which of those is going to lead to suffering? Well, yes. Which of those is going to alleviate suffering? No. They're all going to lead to these things. But the thing about the friend is so difficult. And it could even be like a romantic person who became a very close friend of yours, meaning that you guys went that first stage of Eros into Philo. But I don't know, I wonder if there's someone in your life where you guys have so many inside jokes, where you've been friends for so long that there's so many things that you just do because they do it. In other words, you kind of mimic their behavior, and then they mimic your behavior, and it becomes like this spiral. Yeah. So that if you ever see anything that reminds you of them, I don't know, if you have a friend that maybe you guys go to Jack in the Box, whatever, you guys get curly fries, and you swing the curly fries around, whatever. I saw someone do that once. And then maybe every time you guys sit down and eat curly fries, you're like, oh, woohoo, curly fries. And then you stop being friends. And then the next time you go get curly fries, you're like, I'm not going to woohoo. And then you see somebody else at another table doing this, and you're like, 5 years from now, you'll be where I am. Losing your best friend. In other words, there's so many things in your life that are so interconnected with that person that once that person is gone, the reminders are still there. And so forgetting is an impossibility. So I guess we can get that one out of our heads. And even if you try really hard to not continue that behavior, try really hard not to be reminded of those things, 10, 20, 15, 20, it's still part of your personality type. And I wonder if you carry those things over into your other friendships, where now you do those things with your other friends, and it always reminds you of the original person who you had the falling out with. It can occur also, of course, with family members. You're waiting for a family member to change. You can wait, which is really, really painful. It's really painful. You can try to forget. Good luck. Good luck. Yeah. But the worst part is not knowing which of the... That's the thing. Alcohol doesn't let you forget.
No.
Once you sober up, the problem is still there. You're just poorer for it with a headache. Yeah.
Instead of forgetting, can't you say, instead of forgetting, de-attaching? Because then, you can't forget about someone. They're always going to be with you. Of course, there's all these reminders. But it just comes to you accepting that and then de-attaching from that emotion that you had.
You're right. Could you explain it a little bit more, though?
For example, you say, a friend, like you said, the curly fries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you had fun with them, this and that. But once you've lost them, it all just comes down to de-attaching from that person. And, when you get those reminders, instead of being sad and all that, you're happy. You come to terms with what happened, and you're okay with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the process that we eventually want to get to. Oftentimes we'll say things like, man, I wasted 5 years of my life, I wasted 10 years of my life, I wasted 25 years of my life. I don't know, was it a waste? Did it help develop you into the person that you are today? Assuming that the person that you are today is the person who you want to be. if you look back over the last 20 years and say, wow, I'm a worse person today than I was 20 years ago from having known this person, having this person in my life, well then it wasn't even just a waste, it was worse than a waste, because it stole life from you. If you can look back on it and say, wow, I'm a better person today than I was back then you've gained certain things from it. We're going to read a poem in a few weeks from someone who says something very similar to that. Says that she counts it as gains, the things that she has gained, during the time of their relationship. And so, if you can do that and not even necessarily detach from it, detach would mean like you just sever all the emotions from it, but instead you reorient how you see those experiences, how you treat them psychologically. That's the thing that we hope for. That's what you want to happen. But there's many slips between there. Obviously, that detachment part is going to be more towards the middle, where you want to no longer feel much about it. But eventually, hopefully, you can get to the other end of it, which is to attach positive feelings and emotions to it. And it's a really hard question. Maybe forgetting is an impossibility. That's true. But we have to reorient how we, like you're saying, we have to reorient how we see it, so that it's not a process of just forgetting about the person. That's probably never going to happen. Shortly after high school, I had this friend who got really, really mad at me. I assure you, it was not my fault. And she just went on a tear of just absolutely hating me. And I was thinking about it recently, because I was thinking, man, if we had cell phones back then, if we had social media back then, it probably would have been all over the place with this person. She was mad. And fortunately, we didn't have that stuff back then. She ended up getting a hold of me one time, calling me out of nowhere, and I answered it, and she said, don't talk. I just want to say, I'm done hating you. And, okay, I didn't realize that she had, fine, good for you. And she just said, don't respond. I just want to say, I'm done hating you. And I realized that hating you is only hurting me. So that was like her form of an apology. Not that I'm sorry for how I behaved towards you, not sitting back and realizing, it really wasn't so much your fault, but instead, this is harming me, so I'm going to stop doing it. Which is still basically fuck you, isn't it? Yeah. And so this was her process, because she thought, and she just said, I thought that by hating you, I would get over those feelings more quickly. But it didn't. It just delayed it. And now I have to deal with all of this extra stuff. And she went on this long explanation, and then she just kind of said, hello, are you there? I said, yes. She said, well, you're not responding.
You told me.
Right, exactly. You said you said not to. So I thought you would say something. I said, okay, I can say something. I said, goodbye. And that was that. Because I had already, there had already been like a year or so in between these two times. And I had already kind of dealt with that. And she hadn't dealt with it yet, because she was so caught up on the hating part. In other words, what I'm saying is that we take the wrong emotion into it. If I can just hate this person, I can get over the relationship faster. If I can just hate this person, I can detach myself from them and not care what happens to them. No, because then something bad happens to them, and then you find yourself like, oh my goodness, I hated this person, and now something bad's happened to them, and you can't help but feel like a sentiment of guilt attached to it. I would still find that funny today. But it doesn't solve anything. Adding in, because you're trying to resolve a certain emotion towards a person, and when you add anger into it, now you're having to resolve two emotions. And adding anger, has anybody ever gotten clarity before when you're angry? No. Anger just clouds things. Anger never brings clarity to anything. And by the way, a lot of times detachment doesn't clarify things either. In other words, we sit back and we're like, now that I'm looking at it, I can see. No, now that you're stepping back and you're looking for problems. In retrospect, I think this was a problem, 9 years ago. It's like, no, it wasn't a problem, but now you're seeing the boogeyman everywhere. I had a name written up on the board. I don't know if anybody noticed it earlier. Yeah, his name was Carlos Martins. Anybody ever heard of him before? Carlos Martins? Anybody interested? That's a weird thing to ask. Good man. Is anybody interested in it? Yes. He has a podcast now called The Exorcist Files. He's a Catholic priest who does exorcisms. And on his podcast, he talks about some of his most interesting exorcisms. He's only got a few episodes up there right now, but if you go on YouTube and you search him, you can find a bunch of interviews with this guy. Anyway, he was as I'm kind of listening to him, and he's talking about how a problem that we can live on these extremes, he was saying, where we believe that there are no demons anywhere, and there's always naturalistic explanations. And then we can also believe that everything is the cause of a demon, even the wind blowing. And so we see demons everywhere. Interestingly enough, he said that of all the people who reach out to the Catholic Church and say, hey, I think we've got someone here who's demon-possessed, he said that he keeps track of it. Less than 0.5% of people he actually looks at and says, I think they might be demon-possessed. So for him, like, skepticism is way over here. But the other side of the coin, he points out there are people who, like if Scanlon came in here and referred to himself in third person, like Scanlon just did, a priest might look at it and go, he's talking third person. That means he has a demon in him. No, Scanlon's just making a joke. No, you got a demon. Hold him down. Let's exercise this thing. Good luck, Father. You're going to need that, God. And so anyway, my point is that sometimes we can detach so much that afterwards we see demons everywhere. We think, oh man, that was a sign, that was a sign, that was a sign, that was... No, maybe they weren't signs at all. Maybe afterwards we're assigning significance to things that happened. So my point is just that you can see how crazy of a whirlwind this can create in our minds when we're trying to figure out if we should wait, if we should forget. And by the way, forgetting is painful. It's not just because you think about a person in your life who's taken up a good chunk of your life, even if it's just 6 months or a year, and you associate that part of your life with that person. That means having to forget a year of your life, 2 years of your life, 20 years of your life. That's pretty painful, because then that really is a waste if you try to forget all of that. So I guess a couple of things. First off, be careful with the people you share your life with, because this is a decision that many of you are going to have to make over and over and over again. That's with spouses, that's with friends, that's with family members, that's with, Shane down at 7-Eleven by my house, who I want to have him come in and talk to you guys. Yeah, he's on probation, but anyway, I asked him if he could come in and be a motivational speaker to you guys. He's like, yeah, for sure. So, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see. But you're going to have to make those decisions with everybody in your life at some point. Waiting whether you wait it out, whether you forget it, not knowing which of those things to do, that's very difficult to figure out. Even if it's 100 years. Even if it's 200 years. It still is not going to be enough time. And the chances are very slim, by the way, that it's going to be 100 years. The chances are zero that it's going to be 200 years. So however much time you spend waiting, that's life that you're putting into it. I was just talking to someone recently, actually, who got friend-zoned. And yeah, exactly. And I saw the messages and things. It's a little unfair. But I asked her, so she's like, I don't know what to do. I go, what do you mean you don't know what to do? And she's like, should I wait? Should I move on? Should I? I'm like, oh man, you're shooting all over yourself. And I asked her, what do you want out of it? She's like, I want him to come around and see that I am the person, because she wanted, long story, but she had it in her head that they were like going to get married and all this stuff. But that's because she's at that age where she's freaking out about getting married or not. And so she's just like, I feel like I should wait. I'm like, and I asked her, why do you suppose you're so big on getting married? And she's like, because I'm getting to be that age. I go, so do you think that's going to get better as you wait for him? And she's like, yeah, but the messages, I said, I hear you. I saw them. But if you wait, that's life. That's lifetime. Who knows how much it's going to cost you? Who knows what you're missing in the meantime? And by the way, that's a real statement. Who knows? We don't know. We don't know. Maybe she should wait for him. Well, I don't know. What do I know? Who knows what this? Who knows what's in this person's head? But as a general rule, I do tell people: if you're friend zoned, you deserve to be in the friend zone. And I mean that. If you accept it, if that's the role that you've been assigned, and you accept it, then that's where you are. Accept it. Quit complaining. Quit going online and complaining to people about it. If you don't want to be there, then you leave there. And if you're okay with being there, then be happy that you're there and you have a friend. But don't complain about it. My God. Because there's nothing more attractive than a whining man, right? I just wish I just love you for who I am. Why am I alone? I know, so you take that very personally.
She likes you like a brother.
Now, good luck forgetting now. Yeah, I'm just saying, man. It's a true story. I know. I'll be up here. You know my email address. Send it. Let me know if there's a line in what I just said. We just don't like it because we feel like we're entitled to things. We're really not, man. We're really not. That's one of the problems when we see love as something that you can deserve. You can't deserve another person's love. That's what makes it so precious. It's a gift. Someone gives it to you, and you don't deserve it. You know, you don't deserve it. Even if you win the lottery, you deserve it because you bought the ticket. You know, sometimes you'll be sitting there just like a stump of a human being, and someone will go, you know what? I love you. Why? You know, why? Because they'll make up a bunch of stuff. We don't know why. We don't know why. We just do. We just do. Even despite, we might be like, I'm not supposed to like this person because, and then fill in the excuse of why we're not supposed to like this person, but we still do. You know, but the problem is, like I said, is that we take it that we can deserve that. You can't deserve it. But if it's a gift to you, then you should cherish it. If you deserve someone's love, then you're probably not going to treat it very nicely because you earned it. It's yours. You earned it. You deserved it. So you can do what you want with it, like a car. But if someone gave it to you, and you didn't deserve it, and you know that any second that thing can be taken away from you, maybe you'll cherish it and take it more seriously. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? I don't know, man. Stay tuned for next period. It might go better. Yeah.
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 There was a lot to take in, I would say. I have two thoughts of the idea.